Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Conversations with the Fly Aunt. I am your resident favorite auntie. I like to think so, Ebony Ivory, and we have a special guest in the building. We have my fly daughter. Introduce yourself to the
I'm
people.
Sanaya, the flyest, the daughter, the eldest.
And there we have it. It's very concise and simple and to the point. All right. So we have our special guest. We like to play games because, we enjoy a little game or two on here. So we're going to play this or that. It's just simply, I ask you a question. It's simply this or that.
Okay.
And then you just have to roll with it and give me your answer. All right. So this or that. I see you. Or psych?
Don't make me choose. Psych.
Okay.
I have to explain why.
No, you don't.
Okay.
No, you do not have to explain why. All right. This or that. Fav, we're going to go with color. So, pool blue.
Okay.
Or standard blue.
Pool blue.
Okay. And our final question. Pizza or spaghetti?
Pizza.
All right. That's our little game. This or that. Got to get to know a little tidbit about the fly daughter, Sanaya. Please check out our last episode. We talked about last wish request. Go to the playlist, check that out. I just want to give a quick shout out to my podcasting listeners who are checking in, leaving voice notes and following and leaving reviews on the podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And please don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe on my social media platforms. The Fly Aunt on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Let's engage. I've seen a couple people reach out and say, hey, and I really do appreciate it. And let's get into this episode.
Let's talk about it.
All right. So on today's episode, we are going to discuss, we're going to talk about our parenting differences and similarities and what has molded us. So, of course, it would be my eldest that would be here because she was the guinea pig.
Yeah. The trial and error.
Ooh, not too much trial and error.
Let's just figure it out.
Uh-oh, guys. Y'all gonna be in for a treat. All right. So, as if you remember on an episode where we discussed overcoming poisonous parenting, my heritage and how I was raised, I'm of Jamaican descent. My mom is Jamaican. So my daughter, in turn, is Jamaican descent and also Haitian descent.
A 2-for-1.
So she gets it a little too honestly, so to speak.
Yes.
So how we're gonna make this flow, we're gonna go into how I was raised first, right? So I won't go into it too heavy. You can catch the poisonous parenting episode and that'll give you a little deeper layer and understanding of myself. So basically my upbringing was very rigid, very strict, and it wasn't a lot of leeway for mistakes or anything like that. So in return, I was very much, I was very strict and I was just very kind of firm, hardcore, so to speak, because that's how I was raised. Very, very, very structured. I didn't have, there wasn't much leniency. There wasn't much, as far as fun is concerned, on my own. Everything was really monitored, very strict upbringing. I didn't get to do the things that some kids got to do, like go to the movies, hang out with other kids, like spend the night, go to parties and all that kind of stuff. That didn't happen for me until maybe like 11th or 12th grade, and that was very rare. But nonetheless, that's my upbringing. That's how I was raised. So in turn, when I did get to the point in my life where I had children, I wanted things to be different. I wanted to have foster different relationships with my children. When I first got pregnant, I always wanted a daughter to start off with. That was the thing. I wanted a girl, I wanted a daughter. And I believe that comes from because I wanted to have I had an idea of what my mother-daughter bond would be with my child, and I wanted to basically be the mother in a sense that I didn't quite get. So this is not to bash my mom because all of us were out here winging it, trial and error, as she so graciously mentioned earlier. But I had in my idea what my parenting, what it I wanted it to look like, and how that showed up. So we're gonna get into the differences. So I'm gonna speak a little bit about, like, in the aspect of worldliness, how my upbringing looked, and then we're gonna get into her being a Gen Z because I'm a millennial and I was raised by a baby boomer. So we're gonna get into how that looked. So for me, it wasn't no cell phones. Okay. It wasn't, you know how we can put in the GPS now and figure out where we're going. No, baby, it was MapQuest.
I was just about to say, I'm like MapQuest. I remember using
MapQuest, you gotta print out the map, and you better look, you while you're trying to drive, you gotta follow the directions. How I was raised too, especially like in high school, when we had our little drama and beef, unless you lived in the neighborhood or you rode the bus, that's the only way that came home with you.
Yeah.
That's the only way that came home with you. We left it at school and we picked it back up the next day at school. Okay. Another difference in how I was raised is that, like, them chores, they better be done. If they're not done, I'm getting woke up out my sleep to get those chores done. Saturday mornings are for cleaning. We're listening to Barry Hammond in the morning. Maybe some lady saw and we busting them suds. We're cleaning that tile. We're getting Sylvia's house in order. In order it was. Not to say that I did not have any fun times growing up, because I definitely did. But I wanted to make sure that I parented with a level of warmth. I wanted my children to feel comfortable expressing themselves to me. I wanted my children to feel comfortable coming to me about anything, whether it's good, bad, if it's not going to be pleasing, if they're about to put the D in disappointment. I wanted them to feel comfortable coming to me. So that's the relationship that I wanted to foster with my children. I was very focused on wanting my children to just be comfortable with me. I didn't want them to see me as a person that came from a place of no. I did not want them to see me as a person that was just closed off to their emotions and what it was that they were going through. So I'm going to hand it over to my fly daughter and let her kind of talk about what it was like, being the first child.
Yes. That's very
and
important.
how we navigated, because we grew up together. We grew up together. Basically, I was 20 when I gave birth to her, and I'm super proud of her. She's a nurse and she's doing well. So let's get into it. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. But I would say maybe like the differences, or let's just start off not even with the differences, like how I was raised. I feel like me being the first child is like definitely is different because I'm your first and I'm my dad's first, and then I'm the first grandchild. So I won't lie, it was a lot of spoiling, a lot of giving, and definitely I think like with my childhood, I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely, I don't think it was as rigid as yours or as my dad's for sure. I think it was definitely like a lot more lenient. I feel like I got to do more things. I didn't have to wait to like my junior or my senior year or even like college to like start experiencing things. I feel like, I was able to like go to the eighth grade dance and like when I was like, freshman, sophomore in high school, like if my friends were like having a party or something like that, like I had those opportunities to be able to go and to enjoy those things and like explore. So I feel like that's where the difference was. I had to clean on Saturdays actually. Like so I knew how to like work the ebony system.
I
I
love that, the
knew
ebony
like
system.
if I
Okay.
wanted to do something or I wanted to go somewhere, I wanted to try something new, like I knew like okay, so now you got to clean this house top to bottom, like make it spotless, make it look like they can eat food off the ground. And it worked. It worked cuz I was able to do stuff and I was able to explore and try new things and go hang out with my friends or like go to the mall or like do things like that. So I think that was definitely probably like the differences like in like our upbringings for sure. Like it was definitely a lot more leniency. I feel like the line of communication like between me and you versus like you and grandma, I think our line of communication is definitely a lot more open. Like I know like certain things I may not mention because I know
And
like
that's okay. And I also want to say that your kids, I just, my thing is, I wanted them to know that there's an open door policy. Of course, there are some things we're all gonna hold back from because I know there's certain things that I wouldn't necessarily share with my
yeah.
mother either. So I get that and respect that. But it was just really important to me that I foster this open door policy that you can come to me, and not only that, like not with the good but also like with the bad. Like if there's something going on and you need to reach out to me, I don't want you to ever feel ashamed like you can't call me for help. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that you felt like, not only I was lenient, it wasn't rigid, but I mean, it's not like you got away with murder or anything like that
Yeah,
either.
no, I don't feel like that. I don't feel like I got away with murder. Obviously, when you go off to college, there's certain things that you experience where you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to take this one to the grave. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody about this experience right here. But I definitely feel like I had the opportunity to be able to call you or be able to be like, okay, look, this happened. I feel like you definitely helped me navigate through a lot of different situations that I experienced. Like, I
Oh.
was able to ask, like, well, what do you think I should do? Or what would you do if you were me? Because sometimes you're like, I don't know. Like, I'll be like, well, what do you think? You're like, I don't know. Well, I'll be like, well, what would you do if you were me? Because then that helps me gauge, like, okay, maybe I'm probably not making the best decision, like, in this dynamic if it's with somebody else or a decision as far as like school or work or something like that. So I feel like it's definitely like a lot easier for me to come to you about stuff versus like with grandma. Like even with me, like if I try to tell her certain stuff or bring up certain stuff to her, she'll be like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to argue with her. Like I don't want no smoke with her.
You don't want no smoke
I
with
don't want
Sylvia?
no smoke with my grandma. Like I don't want her to get rowdy. I don't need her to get up.
And that's my mother. When I
Yes.
say Sylvia, that's my mother.
Yes.
Okay, so what are some differences with the parenting style between myself and your father? Why? I don't know what.
I don't know if this question is meant to bring insight or to be messy. I would definitely say maybe like some differences like between you two is that I probably tell you more stuff. Like I'm probably more open with you. Even though me and my dad, we do have a really good relationship. It's certain things that I don't talk to him about. Like I know I can come to my mom and talk to my mom about boys or like if I think like somebody's cute or I'm like somebody's pursuing me or I'm pursuing them. But it's like my dad, no. Like I'm not no, I will not be talking to him about that stuff. He doesn't want to hear about it. He can act like he wants to hear about it, but he doesn't want to hear about it. Or it's like it's certain things that I know I can talk to him about. Like maybe I might talk to him more about like school, like because I know he's like super into school. Even though you're into school too, but like that's like his thing.
Yeah.
Like so it's like I just know your parents like they have not necessarily pros and cons, but like you guys have
What
things.
we do, that's fine.
I mean, true, but y'all have things that like y'all are really good at, and then things that okay y'all may not be so knowledgeable in. So like it's easier to ask one or the other about certain things, or it's like I may ask you about something because I know you'll probably just give me an honest answer. But then my dad may be like, or I don't know, or, just don't worry about it. But I'm worrying. Like, that's why I'm asking you about it. So I think it's definitely different. And I think it is different too because, like, I basically grew up with you. So I feel like our relationship is just like, it's a little closer. It's just a little
You mean
different.
like in the home?
Yeah, in the home.
Right,
Like,
right.
my dad has always been around,
Right,
but like
mhm.
I've primarily lived with you.
Right.
Even though I've spent like summers and like Christmases and like
Right.
holidays and things like that with my dad. But it's like when you have like that parent that you see all the time, like that relationship is just like, it's just a little different. Like,
It is.
yeah, not in a
It
bad
is.
way though. It's just a little different.
Okay. So let's do this, right? So is there ever a time, right, that there was just absolutely something that you wanted to do, but I was like
Oh my
dead
goodness.
set against you not doing it? And then later on in life, because hindsight is 2020, you're like, I'm glad my mom didn't let me go through with that. That was like a really bad idea.
I feel like you know exactly what I'm gonna say because we talk about this like every blue moon, like you bring it up.
You think so?
Yes,
Okay,
you know what I'm
okay.
gonna say.
All right.
Okay. So it's so embarrassing. So when I was younger, you know how when you're young, you go through your different phases of things that you like. And my phase at this time, I think I was like 10 or 11. My phase at this time was like being goth. I don't know. I don't know what it was about it, but I was like into the whole goth, like.
Can you imagine her being
It's
goth?
crazy. Like looking back on it now, it's crazy. But I was so like dead set on it.
Is that
like,
emo state? Is that what the people?
Yeah. Like being goth
state?
or being like emo. Like I was
Okay.
definitely like in my little emo phase. I think it
Okay.
only lasted like a few months, but. And it was like this haircut, like took us to like fully be emo. Like you have to like, it's not just the dress, like it's not just the jewelry. Like you have to get the haircut, and it was like kind of like a mullet. Like that's the best way I can describe it. Is a mullet, and like it's like a little bang, and it's like it's short right here, and then you like they add the extensions, and it's like feathers and pink and blue, and like. I was like, yeah, like I need this hairstyle, like in order to like fully like tap into like my goth, my emo. Like I needed the hairstyle.
Ooh,
So
my
I
face
brought the pictures to her.
is hurting. Ooh.
And like the look on your face when you seen that, like you just looked at the picture, you're like, no. And I was like, what do you mean no? Like this is my hair. Like I should be able to cut it. She's like, no, Sanaya, you're gonna regret this. You'll thank me later. And I remember like leaving the room and going and writing in my diary or something like that. And I was like, my mom, she's just a hater. Like she doesn't really want me to be goth. Nobody wants me to be goth. Like you have to be like emotional. Like you have to amplify it.
Right.
And looking back on it, I'm definitely glad I didn't cut my hair. First of all, like they would have talked about me so bad in school. Like they would have ate me up. And then, like, your hair is going to grow out uneven. And in order to, like, fully have the hairstyle, like, you have to tease your hair. And it's like, that just caused breakage and all the things. I'm glad I didn't do it. But that was my thing that I was like, I'm glad you didn't let me do.
Okay, I agree. That's definitely the one that stuck out.
Yeah, the moment you asked me, that's the first thing that popped up to my head. I was like, I'm glad I didn't do that.
And she was so adamant that is what she wanted to have.
Like that was going to be my lifestyle. I was so serious.
I wish I could find a picture to throw it up.
I wish I could too. Like if I could had a picture of it like on a poster board to just show.
If we find a picture, we're gonna figure it out and we're gonna throw it up so you guys can see.
And I was like, I was ready to like start my Tumblr and like start my goth lifestyle.
Not
like,
Tumblr girl. Oh my God, the goth lifestyle. Do goth people? Do you have like a name? Like, would it be a different name or other than your name?
You know how they be doing like lowercase x, uppercase X, scene kid, like 2 Ds, uppercase X, lowercase X. Like it was gonna be serious. I was committed. I'm glad you didn't let me do it.
Listen, because she came to me all the time. Don't think that this was like I said no once.
It wasn't a one time.
It was not a once. She came to me and like I almost broke.
Yeah, you did. I think you did.
I almost broke. I almost caved and gave in, and then I had a moment of clarity. Like, Ebony, let's be for real. Like, no, we're not doing that.
I was gonna look crazy though, but I was serious. I was gonna give me like some little extensions and like put some green and purple extensions in my little mullet. Girl, it would have been cute to me at that time. Probably looking back on it, but I'm glad you didn't, because imagine like pictures of that floating on the internet. Like,
You hear? So if I would have gave her that inch, it would not have stopped there.
no, it wasn't gonna stop. Like that was really.
This was happening this was going to go on for a while. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I did stop, because I wouldn't be able to handle the green and the pink hair. I'm all about expressing oneself, blonde hair, red hair, even purple hair. But that pink and green, that would have definitely just took me over. So let's also get into this. So being that we had such a open and honest relationship, do you think there was times that, the stuff that I would come to you and talk to you about, do you just think times maybe it was just too much?
I feel like sometimes it could have been like too much. Because I remember we had a conversation about it like a few months ago, and I was telling you, like, you don't tell me stuff. Like, I don't know what's going on. And you're like, I just feel like, I just tell you too much. And now it's crazy that you asked that, because now I'm in my phase where I'm like, am I telling her too much? Like, does she know too much about me? Like, do I need to be a little bit more vague? But it's like, I don't know. It's like on one hand, it could feel like it's too much, but it's
maybe
like,
not in your adulthood, maybe so much, but in your upbringing.
No,
you didn't feel like that, or because you didn't know better. Like looking back.
Wait, not because you didn't know.
No, because like I look back at how I raised you in certain things that there are definitely things I wish I would have done differently. Oversharing. And I discussed this in my Poisonous Parenting podcast. So check that out in the Poisonous Parenting. So do you look back and do you think, well, it could have been too much or something else I didn't need to know, or you felt like it's okay, it's all right?
I feel like it was fine. I feel like I think maybe my main reason why I don't feel like it was like oversharing is because we were the only females in the house.
Right.
So
right.
I think that played like a key part. It just being me and you, being the only woman in the house.
Yes.
So it was just kind of like I'm one of those people, I like to know what's going on in my environment. Like, and I don't know if maybe you sharing or you feeling like you were oversharing makes me that way, but it's like I like to be aware of what's going on. So it's like looking back on it, I don't really feel like it was oversharing because like I knew what was going on.
Okay. So now the adverse effect of that you just mentioned, you feel like I'm doing stuff and you not in the loop.
Yeah, like you started school. You didn't tell me you started school. I was like, she's about to start classes and she just applied and she got accepted and she did everything and she didn't need my help. When you were like, yeah, I'm about to go film my first episode. I'm like, what? Like, you're doing all of this on your own? Not that you couldn't, but it's like you're not saying anything. Like, it felt like my baby bird I didn't even push my baby bird out the nest. They just flew away when I went to go get some food. Didn't say anything. It was so rude.
Oh, it was so rude. Okay.
So nasty.
So listen, so that's perfect, because when you talk about that, this is what I'm going through with you right now. I feel like that you think you're my parent.
I am. Contrary to popular belief, I think that we also have an inverse mother-daughter relationship on occasion. I think it's important, and I feel like that's what keeps our relationship going. You disagree? We're besties. Sometimes, besties have to parent each other. And I just have to keep you, on a straight and narrow path. Yeah.
I guess this is attributed to that nursing expensive education in her working in psych, because I feel like she's trying to pull one over on me right now. But okay, we'll roll with that. But you think you're in the stage now, you think you're my mom. Like,
give an example.
Okay, perfect example is we all share locations.
Yeah.
We use an app. We use an app for that. We share locations. And for some reason, I guess my phone connected to Wi-Fi and it sent her alert that I was
You
at
at
home.
home. Yeah, it said that you arrived home at 3 in the morning. And I was at work. I was just trying to figure out what was going on.
No. So
Okay, finish.
it didn't come across so calm and so pleasant, because that's not how I got it. I got a stern text message that said, "Where are you coming from? Why is it saying you're just getting home at 3:36 a.m.?" Like, typed out. I could feel the tone of this text message, okay? I happen to be up. She likes to say between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is my witching hours.
Yes, that's
okay?
the witching hours. That's your prime. Like, that's when you're up and you're doing stuff.
So I'm like, I respond. I'm like, before I could hit send, the phone was ringing.
Yeah, it was.
Why?
Because, so along with that message, before I text you that, I also text you and I asked you if you were cooking. I asked you, like, oh, are you going to make some curry goat? Because you were talking about buying some goat. And you only responded to one part of my message.
So that sent up your spidey senses that I'm hiding something?
Yes, I was like, I feel like you are ignoring the second part of my text. And now I know that you're awake because you're texting back. So, yes, I did pick up the phone and I called. I feel like that's the least I could do. It's not like I left work and came home.
Okay, so had I not responded, what would have been next? What would have been your next?
If you didn't respond at all?
Yeah.
So I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh, maybe like she just like unlocked her phone or something like that and like it reconnected to Wi-Fi, because it didn't say that you left. It only said that you arrived home. So I was going to give you some grace and ask about it when I came home. But because you took it upon yourself to respond, I was like, oh, no. I'm calling. And did, and I'll do it again. Yes,
okay. Okay, so the mama is not a baby.
Yeah, the grandma's the baby. The daughter is the baby.
Catch that reference. If you know what we're talking about.
If you know, you know.
Put it in the comment section if you know what we're talking about. So, yes. So that has led to her. Now she's my parent. Another scenario is I was leaving at 6:30 to go pick her brother up from practice. And she's getting ready to go to work. The garage door opens. She hops out of her car to question, where am I going to? Like,
okay. I have been working nights for a year and a half now. At that time, when I get in my car, religiously, you never leave the house at that time. Like, it's either before you're already gone or after, then you leave. So I was just inquiring on where you were going at that hour.
The inquiry wasn't this nice and it wasn't this calm, okay? There was a lot of bass. And she stepped out the car. It was giving very much, I'm finna check you, because why are you leaving this house? So, you know, she's a sweet girl, but don't cross her, okay?
Yeah,
when she's on her bully, she's on her bully.
Real
okay?
bad.
Okay, so let's talk about this. I want to talk about, because I had you in my 20s, because I'm not trying to give away my age.
Girl.
But I want to talk about like the biggest lesson that I learned in having a daughter. Well, one, because there were like so many. But the biggest lesson I learned is that like you're a true reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a vanity statement.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, you know, some people call their young ones, their babies, their mini me's, but I feel like you're like my better me.
Really?
Absolutely. Like everything, I poured everything into all of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Everything into all of y'all. The sacrifices, everything. And for those seeds to be planted, and because you're my fruit. You're my crotch fruit.
I was just about to call me crotch fruit.
You're my fruit. You're my crotch fruit. But to see my fruit bear, I'm like, I'm like, I'm trying to hold back tears because I don't want to mess up my makeup. Shout out to my makeup artist, but like when I tell you when parents feel this thing, like, was it worth it?
Mhm.
Was it worth it? And I look at you, it was damn sure worth it.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. I feel like you definitely put in like a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of work in like raising us as a whole, but I feel like especially me, especially because I am your only girl
Yeah.
and I'm the oldest, and then like you said, like we basically like grew up together.
Right, we
So it's
did.
like it was times where it's like, you know, it'd go from, okay, this is my best friend. Oh no, she's being my mom now. Like, so it's like,
Yes.
but I feel like it never really got to a point where it was like
Blurred.
blurred. Yeah, no, I don't think it was ever blurred or it was like a gray area. It was like, okay, now we can have like a friendly conversation. Like I can open up, or now it's like, okay, you're being my mom. Like I know like she's not playing, she's not going, but I feel like I definitely, the effort that you put into raising me, I definitely feel like it doesn't go unnoticed. Like I definitely appreciate like the things that you've done. Obviously, like everything wasn't perfect. It's never gonna be perfect. Like, but that's just life, and that's just like family dynamics. Like you're gonna have your ups and
Yeah.
downs. But I feel like me personally, I feel like the growing pains I went through growing up, I feel like it definitely like it panned out. I feel like I turned out great. Like I always tell people that I'm like I turned out pretty amazing. Like if I don't say so myself, I feel like it's not a lot of people my age doing the things that I'm doing. I feel
Yes,
like
absolutely.
a
You
lot
are
of people,
accomplished.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people my age are very distracted. Like even somebody told me like earlier this week, they were like, "Oh, like you're a nurse and you're 23." Like that's cool. I
Right.
don't meet that many people that are like a nurse and they're that young. So it's like I feel like I'm very accomplished. I feel like I'm very well rounded. And obviously, like, I have to thank my dad for that. But I feel like, you definitely put in both the leg work for sure to make sure that I got here. Sorry, Dad. But yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank
So
you.
yeah.
And I don't take it lightly. Um we all have our roles to play, whether it was my sister, everybody stepped in at the time that it needed to be stepped
Yeah,
in.
when they say it takes a village, like
Yeah.
they are not lying.
Right.
Like it definitely takes a village to like raise a child. Like I feel like I definitely had a lot of influences from both sides, but I feel like something that I always tell people is that at the end of the day, I was raised by women. Period. Like my mom, my aunt, my grandma. Like those are the three women that definitely instilled like the values in me that I have. Like how I'm stern, how I have low tolerance, how I have the drive, like how I'm a go getter. Like I feel like I definitely got that from my mom, my aunt, my grandmother. That's it. Like not one or the other, those three. So it's just like I feel like obviously it took a mass village, but I feel like obviously, in your family dynamics, you definitely have those family members that you are a little bit closer to, that you lean towards just
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I feel like that y'all were like that three.
We
for
were
me.
just we were your core, you could say.
Yeah,
We
for
were,
sure. Yeah, I think
core
that's the better. I
support.
think that's the better
Yeah.
the better term for it. It's like that
Yeah.
was my core support for
Yeah,
sure.
we were your core support, and then you had others that it's just like little layers, like onions, like little layers around you,
Like an onion.
yeah, like an onion. You love onions.
Yes, I love onions. They're so good.
Okay, so let's also get into this. Let's talk about the benefits of being able to even have this kind of relationship, because let's open up and talk about that. Maybe what you've heard other people experience. Let's talk about, like, say if you were talking to someone's parent and they're like, I'm not trying to be their friend, I'm their parent, I'm this, I'm that. Like, what would you say to them?
I've kind of seen that before, like even like with my like family relationships or like with my friends too. And I feel like obviously at the end of the day, if you're a parent, you have to take the approach that you feel like is best for raising your child. But I also believe that when you're so being strict and rigid with I'm a parent, like that creates a lot of friction in a relationship between you and your child is going to do a lot of sneaking around. They're not going to tell you things. They're not going to be open with you. So it's like it's going to come a time where it's like you start finding out things about your child that you never knew, and it's not that, it wasn't information that you were never going to be privy to, but it's like that's information your child decided to keep from you because they didn't feel like you were like an open book or you be receptive to the information that they're going to tell you. Because it's like, even with parents, like y'all tell us stuff that it's like, I don't think I really wanted to hear that. Like, you could have kept that to yourself. And I feel like it's the same with your children. Like, you don't want to hear certain things, but it's like you still have to keep that line of communication open. And I feel like a lot of people miss out on that when they're so fixated on, I'm your parent. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not your friend. I'm your parent. And it's like when you talk like that, especially to like your child, it's kind of like you're talking down on them or you're talking at them, and that doesn't create, it doesn't foster an environment that promotes communication and growth.
Right, right. I agree with that. I agree with that. And that's something that I experienced. So
Yeah.
I did not want to go into another generation having that same experience
for sure.
because a lot of times we're going to parent based on the way that we were parented
Yeah.
until we have uh epiphany or the self-awareness where we correlate, okay, that's a part of my parents and I don't want that to go to the next
Yeah.
generation. So what would you say as your mom, what do you take, what's like one of the biggest lessons that you learned from me?
I think maybe like one of, and we were kind of talking about this morning because actually when we talked about this morning, I spinned it back on you now that I'm thinking about it.
Really?
Yes.
What was it? Go
When
ahead.
we were talking this morning, basically I feel like you were very kind of like, you can't take things so personal and like not to react to certain things, not giving everything like a reaction or a response. And I feel like I've definitely taken that with me. Like, I'm one of those people, like, a lot of things I can't take personal and I have to take things with a grain of salt. Like, because sometimes, not even sometimes, a lot of the times, people's opinions of you and their perception of you is based on things that they're going on in their personal life, and it's just overspilling onto you. Like, it has absolutely nothing to do with you, but some people are just, they're miserable or they're unhappy. Sorry.
It's true.
But
I mean,
the facts are facts. And
yeah.
sometimes people are just not satisfied in like their space where they're in. And it's like I had to learn for sure, like some things I just can't take personal and I have to take it with a grain of salt. I let a lot of things just brush over my shoulder. And like obviously, like with me working as a nurse, like, we talked about like how, I can't bring things home with me. I can't take things home with me. And I feel like, especially with that, like a lot of things I just don't take personal anymore. Like, it's like, okay, whatever, that's fine. If you feel that way, like I receive how you feel and I'm just willing to just move on.
And also, I don't want anyone to think that she's a pushover either, because we're not having none of that. But the rule is that if it doesn't matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 years, 5 days, we not holding on to it. So that's how I taught myself, and I passed that information on to her, because a lot of times people are just holding on to stuff and you don't know what the rhyme or reason is.
That's very true.
And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes you just got to give people grace. You can't go straight in and bite their head off, and then a lot of times I found with that is that sometimes those same people come back to you and apologize.
Yes, I've definitely experienced that for sure. Sometimes I've had people like just be so upset or, and things that don't have anything to do with me. And I'm like, okay, like, my bad. And they're like, well, I'm sorry, I have this, that, and the third going. But I think with that too, it's a lot, you have to self-check yourself. Like, you have to realize, like, okay, maybe I overreacted. Like, maybe I, said something that I probably didn't mean to say, but I'm kind of like, in my feelings because I have this going on, or I have a family issue or a relationship issue or a friendship issue, or like, even like personal, like finances or anything like that. And sometimes like people take that out on others or like they project it onto others. But it's like, I feel like as humans and like as people, like we have to be accountable for the role that we play and how we treat people too.
Right.
Like, it's very important to be accountable for the things that you say and you do.
Yes.
Because sometimes like you take things out on people and it's not intentional. You're just upset.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because sometimes parents do that too.
Yes.
They take, unfortunately, you may the closest people to you, you cut them. Or as my daughter would say, oh, she caught a stray.
Yeah.
You know, my anguish or my irritatedness isn't directed towards her,
Yeah.
but because she's in proximity, she might have received that. So, you know, I don't feel like I do that.
Go ahead.
I don't feel like I do that anymore. Maybe when she was younger.
I think when I was younger, definitely.
Okay.
I think now it's definitely not like, it's not an often thing. It's like one, maybe like in a blue moon, but I feel like you're definitely in a space where you're like accountable and like you're like, okay, well, you know, I can apologize. Like, I probably was said this because I'm really upset about that and I'm just frustrated. Or like even the conversation that we had this morning, I was like, you know, you can't take things like so personal. Like sometimes you have to just be like, okay, like this is a situation and just accept it for what it is and move on.
And how do you feel when you felt wrong by me and I come to you and I apologize? How do you feel?
Sometimes, like when I was younger, I think I was surprised. Like, okay, not an apology. Instead of let's just come with me to the store. Girl,
don't be giving up my little toxic traits.
Okay, Miss Apology. But I mean, I'm very appreciative of it because like a lot of parents haven't, like, not even just parents, but people in general, like people haven't reached that point in their life where they can just, you know, be accountable and be like, okay, look, like I apologize for, you know, how I came at you earlier. So it's like, I think initially like I would be surprised, but now I'm like, okay, well, thank you.
But also, what is as now? Okay, as an adult, like woman to woman, what kind of tone does that set for you too?
It like teaches me like, okay, then that's something that I can do. Like if I'm wrong, like I can come to someone and be like, okay, look, like I'm sorry, I'm really just upset about this that happened and I'm kind of taking it out on you. So I feel like it sets that precedent, like it's okay to apologize and it's okay to be accountable for, you know, your actions. Like there's nothing wrong with that because at the end of the day we are human, like we make mistakes. But the best thing about making a mistake is learning from it and then being apologetic about it too.
And also change behavior.
Yes, change behavior is the best apology.
Right. And okay, so this will be like the last question I want to ask you. As the oldest, because you're I mean, and this is another generational thing. I'm the oldest and I was the first grandchild and I was also the first great grandchild. So as you being the firstborn, the oldest on both sides.
Yes.
And the first grandchild on both sides.
Yes.
What kind of weight or responsibility do you feel being in that position?
So to be quite honest, I don't really feel it as much because I feel like I'm one of those people that just have like a go-getter, like driven like mentality. Okay. But like it is like, you know, a bit of a weight because everybody's kind of looking towards you. They're like, oh, well, what is Sanaya doing? Like, what is she doing with her life? Or like, is she doing all the things that she said that she's gonna do? And is she being responsible? Is she gonna get a house? Like, does she have a job? So it's like I kind of have to like make sure I have myself together because it's like not only are like, you know, my parents looking at me and like, you know, my aunts and uncles and my grandparents looking at me to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. But it's like I'm the oldest of 5. So it's like I have my younger siblings kind of looking towards me like, okay. Like, so it's like I have to try to make sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do so I can set that precedent. Like, look, if I can do it, like that means that you need to be able to do what I did and some because you have the opportunity. And like with me being the oldest, it's like the toughest thing about being the oldest is because you don't have like an older sibling to go to lean on. Like it's either, and then when you're the first, like you're the first cousin, you're the first grandchild, you don't have like older cousins or like I did, but like it was a big age gap. Like I'm in elementary school, they're in high school.
Right.
So it's like I definitely, probably one of the biggest struggles right now is like making sure I'm like scurrying my siblings to make sure they do the things that they need to do, like a little pat,
Little
like
nudge.
yeah, little nudge, like nudging them off the cliff. Like, okay, you need to make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're applying for colleges. What's your major? Like, are we doing dual enrollment? Okay, you're saying you want to get a car. Are we taking driving lessons? Are we trying to like do the things that we need to do, like to be financially stable? Are we looking for jobs? Like, kind of just like pushing them so they don't have like that late start. So I feel like that's probably something that like weighs on me, knowing that okay, they're looking towards me, but I feel like I'm in a space where I am doing pretty good for myself and I am accomplishing things. So I feel like that because I'm doing it, they see like, okay, if Naya's doing it, well, really my siblings call me Yaya. My brothers call me Yaya, and my sisters call me Naya.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if Yaya's doing it, if Naya's doing it, then I can do it. Like, I want to make sure that they know that, like, well, my sister did it, so that means I can do that.
Yeah, and I think, even at your graduation party, like when your brother gave his speech, he was like, you set the bar really high. You set the standard, and he loves you for that.
Yeah.
And as you sit and you name off all the things, girl, your brother's coming for the throne.
I know. The throne.
He's coming for the throne. He just got accepted into dual enrollment.
As he should.
He is coming through. He's coming through the throne. So give a shout out to my son Rashid for getting accepted into college early, doing dual enrollment.
So proud of him.
And giving a shout out to Shahid because he will be on that path next. All right. So I just want to thank you for joining me on the podcast, my fly daughter.
I'm glad to be here with the fly aunt. It's not too bad.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's not too shabby.
It's not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
Might collect a few coins.
We do a little something over here.
You
All right. So we're going to bring the episode to the close. But before I just want to reach out and I just want to give a direct message. Let's grow your business. Okay. Advertise with the fly on.
We would take a brand deal. I'll put on a shirt. I'll put on a shirt. Some jewelry, a necklace.
Advertise with the fly on. Let's grow your business. Reach out to me. Conversations with the fly on. Let's grow your brand. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. The fly on Ebony Ivory and
the fly daughter, Sanaya. I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it.
Until the next episode. Later.
Spirit fingers.